All right, so we're gonna start. We're gonna make yellow squash delight. That's what I'm calling it because it is delightful. All right, I'm gonna say start off with about 2 pounds of yellow squash. Now, when you say 2 pounds, did you actually weigh it? You know, they used to have the weigh things and you weighed because everything was by pounds, and I don't ever see those anymore. And so I don't buy poundage. I just grab what I want. So that being said, there are small yellow squash, there are big fat yellow squash, there are straight ones, there are curved ones. So, you know, it's kind of hard to say. I bought eight yellow squash, but some of them were like, you know, let's see, that big. And then one of them was bigger. So really, you gotta see what you can find. You love my bowl. I think it's Delicate Vine. I think, I'm not certain. Anyway, so you wanna take your yellow squash, wash them, wash your squash, and wash your squash. Okay, no, we're not doing that. All right, and dice it up, put it in a pot of water, bring it to a boil. You're gonna let it boil for, I don't know, 10 minutes. All we're doing is softening the squash up, right? And so, you know me, I always dice, right? I dice small, and the smaller that you cook it, or cut it, the faster that it cooks, okay? So that's my squash, and I boiled it in just some water. I didn't put any salt in there. I just cut up the squash, brought the water to a boil, dumped it in there, let it boil for like 10 minutes, and then I drained it. And so there we go, diced squish, yellow squish, okay? If you wanna be adventuresome, I don't know if you've ever seen what's called a patty pan squash. I usually find them at farmers markets, and it looks squat. You know, it's about, they're round, and they're kind of squat looking, but they're yellow and white, and it's called a patty pan squash. And if you can cut those, and amazing lace. You're probably right, Timothy, probably amazing lace. And you can use patty pan just like you would use yellow squash. The flavor is very much the same, so it might be something that you want to be adventuresome with. Okay, so we cut up, we boiled, we drained, and now we have our squish. All right, now to make it even more squishy, I'm gonna get my masher. Mash. It doesn't matter which one you have. If you don't have a masher, you could use a fork. Could I put it in my food processor? I suppose, but if you put it in the food processor, you have to wash the food processor. And that's kind of gross. Can you use metal stuff in your Polish pottery, Cindy? Well, of course you can. Could you use your hand mixer? Again, you could. Then that's something else you gotta take out and plug in and wash. And you know what is the rule here? Easy, lazy, tasty, yummy, So I'm just squishing. It doesn't have to be total mush, which is why I probably wouldn't put it in a blender or use a hand mixer. Yeah. Okay. See, that's not so hard to wash. Okay. So there we go. Mushy squish. Squishy mush. It's a sweet squash. No, yellow squash. Well, kind of. Patty pan tastes to me just like yellow squash. Good morning, Mary Beth. Who makes the bowl? It's Polish pottery. The squash? God. Hey, Debbie. Good morning. I'm sorry. That was just, you know. Hey, Deb Corley. Good morning. Hey, Debbie. There's a lot of Debbies. Deb. Okay, so now we're going to need 3 eggs. Okay? 3 eggs. Yeah. Let me see if I can. Okay, there we go. Okay. You can just put them in here. You can put them to the side if you want first, and put them in a bowl and mix them up if you want, or you can just crack them in the bowl. If you're, I'm just gonna break them up. If you're not good on the breaking of the eggs and I get shells and everything, you might wanna do it in a separate bowl. Okay, eggs are in there. Now, one of the other things that I did before you arrived, because I was just a busy little beaver this morning. Oops, there we go. You're welcome, Lynn. Hi, Kelly. Oops, there we go. I cut up, oh, this doesn't look very pretty anymore. Looks gross. I I diced up an onion and a stalk of celery. Onion and a stalk of celery. Oh wait, before I did that, I'm in the wrong order. The first thing I did, and it made my kitchen smell so lovely, is I cooked 3 pieces of bacon. I just cut up the bacon. You see it? I cut up the bacon and then put it in the skillet, and I fried up this little bacon. And I diced it first. You can cook it whole and then crumble it up to you. So I made the bacon, and then we're not calling it fat or grease because that is mean to bacon. We should not be mean to bacon. Because you know what, in the sermon this past Sunday, it was my favorite quote from the sermon, and it was, try hard not to offend. Try harder not to be offended. Isn't that awesome? Try hard not to offend. Try harder not to be offended. I like that. Anyway, so 3 pieces of bacon, cooked, all crumbly. Ooh, yum. And then with the bacon goodness that is left in the skillet after you took your bacon out, because we're not calling it fat or grease, the bacon goodness in the bottom, I sauteed 1 onion and 1 stalk of celery. Okay, add just a little salt, but that was it. A pinch, if you will. Good morning. Hey, Christy, I saw you last night. You love anything with bacon. Me too, Lisa. Christy, did you buy good stuff last night? All right, so I'm gonna add my onions and celery that I sauteed in the bacon goodness. That's probably why it's not very pretty right now, because it sat there for a bit. Okay, there we go. You can use butter if you don't want to use, I mean, you still need some bacon. But if you say, oh, well, I'm not cooking with that, then use butter or use oil. Totally up to you. If you don't want to be naughty with me, don't be naughty. It's fine. Okay, now we're gonna add, I'm sorry, my mind just went. We're using a 1/2 cup, but I'm gonna spot it. 1/2 cup of evaporated milk. Now, not condensed milk. Remember, sweetened condensed milk is what you make desserts with, right? Evaporated milk. Comes in a big thing or a small thing. The small thing would have been preferable, but I didn't have the small thing in the cabinet. I only had the big one. So, this is, if you're looking, you're going, didn't you, there we go. Didn't you, isn't this very similar to a meatloaf recipe? You're right. It is very similar to a meatloaf recipe, but instead of meat, we're using squish, yellow squash. All right, so we have our cooked and smashed up squash. We have our sauteed onion, celery, with a little bit of salt, and in the bacon goodness that we cooked it in, or butter, or oil, totally up to you. Now, it doesn't look like much right here, but now we need to add something to give it some heft. And the heft is either, now when I was growing up, my mother made this with saltine crackers. So remember the other day when we did the salmon croquettes and I took the sleeve of saltine crackers and then smashed them all up and then put that in there? That's what my mother used. And quite frankly, you can certainly still do that. I'm using breadcrumbs. Why? I don't know. Because I'm lazy. Lazy. I did the breadcrumbs the other day because, you know, that was like a throwback recipe. So I'm going to put in a cup first, and then I'm going to look at it. Because, is this an exact recipe? Kind of, but kind of not. Because I don't know, how big was your squash? How many squash did you use? And so, if my friend Eva Marie was watching today, she would be very frustrated with me because she likes exact measurements. Are you an exact measurement, or are you, well, it looks good person? Tell me, tell me, tell me. 2 muffin tins and another large platter. Good for you, Christy. Good morning, Michelle. Good morning. Okay, so I'm doing that. I'm mixing in my, oh, it's so good. So good. I'm gonna add another half. Oh, so good. I'm gonna use another 1/2 cup. So because I had so many squash, there we go. So I'm using 1.5 cups. If you get to going and you're like, oh, I put too many cracker crumbs or too many breadcrumbs, And now it just looks dry because you want it to look wet. I mean, you know, but not, you don't want it runny, but you want it wet. But if you put too much bread crumbs or too many cracker crumbs in here and it just starts to look dry, then just add a little bit more evaporated milk. That's all you have to do. Easy peasy. Now, there was no salt and pepper, so we have to do that. And I didn't bring it, so let me bring it. The bacon is salty, so we don't need much salt. There we go. I always put pepper in everything just because I like the little zing. And then I'm gonna put, because I didn't saute garlic, I probably should have, but I didn't. So I'm just gonna put garlic powder, granulated garlic, whatever in there. Again, another layer of flavor. Layer of flavor. Okay, now it's all mixed up. Yum! What's the last thing we put in? Bacon. No, it's not the last thing. It's the next to the last thing. Okay, so this is 3 pieces of bacon that have been cooked and crumbled, unless you cut them up before you cook them, which is what I did, just because it tends to cook faster and more evenly if you cut it up before you start to cook it. Now, this would be lovely all by itself, but we have to take this to the next layer, and we need 8 ounces, so that's like a cup, or one of those small bags of shredded cheese. You can use whatever you have. You want cheddar cheese. This says Fiesta Blend. Fiesta Blend. So you need 8 ounces. Like I said, that's one of those small bags. That's a huge bag because, you know, if you buy in bulk, it's cheaper. You know, the bigger ones, it's cheaper. And it's not like I'm not going to use cheese before it goes bad. Okay, so we mix all that up. La, la, la. And then you need a baking dish. Whatever size you want. You certainly could use a 9 by 13. I think that's a lovely size. I'm going to use a little smaller one. This one is, and I'll measure for you because people are always asking. This one is 11, 8.5, no, 9. This is a 9 by 11. So instead of a 9 by 13, this is a 9 by 11. So it's a little smaller. It doesn't matter. It may be too small, but maybe not. All right, so I'm just gonna dump all of that loveliness in there. Oh, do you see the bacon? And you can, you know what? This is your dish. So don't feel like you have to follow exactly. If you say, I want more bacon. Okay, that's not gonna hurt my feelings. Use 6 pieces of bacon. You want more cheese? Put more cheese in there. There you go. Okay, so I'm gonna put that down, and then we're just gonna spread that out. If you're not using PP, Polish pottery, you need to spray your baking dish. Spray your baking dish. And then we're gonna put this in the oven on 350 degrees for 40 minutes. The top is gonna brown, and we're not gonna cover it. This is gonna cook uncovered. I know, you're going, really, Cindy? Uncovered, I know. But that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so there it is. If you so desired, you could put another layer of cheese on top. I don't like that. I don't like you gotta get into the cheese layer first. You could put breadcrumbs on the top. I don't like that either. So it's up to you. It looks good. I think it is. Hey, Britt, good morning. Oh, Susan, good morning from Chicago. It's just yellow squash, not spaghetti squash. Yes, just yellow squash. So what is the finished texture? So if I was gonna describe it, I would say it was probably like Thanksgiving dressing or stuffing, whatever you call it. So you should be able to, this is not gonna be a runny dish, right? When you get done, it should be a solid dish. So kind of like stuffing or dressing, but not bread dressing. If you're in the north and you eat bread dressing, it's kind of gummy. For me, I'm sure it's lovely for you, but I grew up on cornbread dressing, and so cornbread dressing is the right texture, and bread dressing to me tastes gummy. I dated a guy in college. Good morning, Julie. And his parents were from Illinois, and it was the first Thanksgiving I wasn't able to go home. And he invited me to go to his parents' house because they lived in Bartlesville. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I went to his parents' house, and so then they had bread dressing. And I'd never had bread dressing, and I was like, what is that? And, you know, they were like, it's dressing. And I'm like, no, it's not. But I, you know, smiled. Thank you. It's so lovely. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. And so later I said, can I go call my grandmother? Because we didn't have cell phones back then. So I go in this back bedroom, and I call my grandmother, who I called Nanny. And I'm like, Nanny, they're eating something here and they're calling it dressing, but it's not. It's gross. It's gummy. It's not right. Did you make dressing? Of course, it was Thanksgiving. She goes, yes, baby. I said, can you mail me some or something? Because this isn't right. So there you go. That's my dressing story, and I'm sticking to it. And so there we go. Yellow Squish Delight. It's so yummy. You're going to like this, I promise. And because it's got bacon and cheese, you have a better chance of getting your kids to eat it. Just don't call it squash. Call it Yellow Delight or something, or cheesy bacon dish. Call it that, and then they'll go, oh, and they'll give it a shot. Okay, so there we go with that. The next thing we're gonna make is skillet corn. I have to take a sip. Hold on. Yummy. Okay, but I'm gonna have to move you. Come with me. Come with me, and you'll see in a world of pure imagination. La la la, la la la. Hold on. Okay, I gotta turn you. I have to bring you over here because we, oops. Nope, those don't work. Okay, let me do this. Because we need the skillet. If we're gonna make skillet corn, we have to have a skillet. Now, I think you need to cook this in a cast iron skillet. This is my cast iron skillet. It has been treated. It's all shiny in there. Do you see how shiny it is? Because that's, you oil it and all that. To me, skillet corn tastes much better in a cast iron skillet. Is it a requirement? No. I'm sure you could do this in your regular skillet. But I'm just telling you, this is the way to go. Very seldom do I say, go get something special. Okay, I do say you should use more Polish pottery. A lot. Don't I say that? A lot? I know I do. That being said, cast iron skillet. You need it. All right, we're gonna use 2 tablespoons of butter. Butter. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and put in 2 tablespoons of oil as well. Okay, so we have 2 tablespoons. Now, why am I using 2 separate ones? Cindy, why don't you just use 4 tablespoons of butter or 4 tablespoons of oil or whatever? And the answer is, I need my scissors, hold on. And the answer is, they have different burn points. And so butter burns much quicker than oil, which is why you fry things in oil. If you melted a tub, you know, a vat of butter, and then went to fry things in that, it would burn much quicker. Oh, it'd be bad. That being said, that's why you saute things in butter, but you fry things in oil, because it's the burn point. So that's what I missed the beginning. How did you get the squash cooked? I diced it up and I boiled it in a pot of water and I drained it. And then I smashed it up, Mary Beth. Hey, Janet, good morning. I wonder if Rebecca can ship me a cast iron skillet. Yeah, when Polish pottery starts making things I can put on top of my stovetop, that's gonna be my day. Okay, so I'm melting my butter. The best way to make this recipe is to get fresh ears of corn. Like during the summer, this is like one of my favorite recipes, fresh ears of corn. That being said, and the grocery store sells them, but when I decided to make this was last night, because I was gonna do the squash casserole and we're having pork chops today, and that's nothing, right? I'm just gonna put them on the grill and grill the pork chops. So that was nothing to show you. So I was like, well, what else? And so then I decided to do skillet corn. At that point, no ears of corn, but corn out of the freezer. Okay, these are 2 different brands because there you go. And because I'm making for 2 households, I needed 2. You may only need 1 bag. But if you're gonna do this, I would use about 8 ears of corn. And you just take the ears of corn and you take a knife and you cut off the thing. The easiest way to do it is to take a big bowl and then take a littler bowl from that side and then flip that little bowl upside down in the big bowl. And then you set your ear of corn on the top and you go down with your knife. and that way it just kind of falls off the side, but you have a flat surface to hold it, right? Isn't that cool? So anyway, that's the easiest way. Okay, I've melted my butter and my oil. Whew, it's making happy noise. And now I'm gonna put in my, oh, did you hear that? Oh, it's the happy sound. It's the happy sound. Okay, so I'm using 2 packages only because, like I said, feeding a bunch of people. Now I've made this several different ways. Hold on. I also cut up 1 bell pepper. It looks yellow, I know, but it's a green bell pepper, but I don't think it was all the way, I don't know. Anyway, 1 bell pepper in. I've made this several different ways. You certainly can chop up an onion. You certainly can fry bacon first and use some of the bacon yumminess to fry this, okay? Hold on, that's not all. I need 2 more things, hold on. Well, a few more things. All right, we're gonna need some salt, and with this much, I'm probably using a whole teaspoon. I like salty corn anyway, don't you? We're gonna need some this is garlic. You know I'm putting garlic in there. Could you use fresh garlic? Well, of course you could, but I'm not. And then pepper, about a half a teaspoon, or if you like lots of pepper, do that. Now, here you go, and this is gonna kind of freak you out, but a tablespoon, try cutting with my bundt pan. Oh, Lisa, I hadn't thought about using the bundt pan. Oh, what a great idea. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Janet. Philip bought it for me to make me feel like I was important. 2 tablespoons of white granulated sugar. 2 tablespoons. And we're gonna put that all over our corn. Yum. You can use yellow bell peppers, orange bell peppers, red bell peppers. You could put, like I said, you can saute an onion and put in here. You can saute bacon and put in here. But since I was doing the bacon and the squash, I thought, well, I won't do that over here. Now, there are other recipes that will tell you, now I got this cooking, and that's basically it. But we can chitty chat while that's cooking. Other recipes will tell you to mix up flour and some water, and then it kind of makes like a sauce. I'm sure that's I've never had it, and it doesn't sound right. To me, skillet corn, when I get done, the corn should be browned. You know, not like dark brown, not burnt, right? But it should have a nice brown color to it. And the sugar that we've put in there, and I'm using a fairly high heat right now with my cast iron skillet, that high heat, corn's got a lot of sugar in it already. It's a starch, right? And so it's releasing all that sugar. And then we've got the butter, which has, you know, the low burning point. And then we have the additional sugar that we've put in there. And so what that's gonna do then is all of the sugars and that butter are gonna work together to brown much quicker than it would if you just used oil. Genius. Well, I don't know if it's genius, but it is one of my favorite dishes. Now, the downside to using frozen, could you use canned corn? You certainly can. I had the 2 bags of frozen corn, so that's what I'm using. Now, the downside to frozen corn is that I did defrost it, but there was a little bit of liquid in there. So that means I'm gonna have to cook it just a wee tad longer because we gotta get that liquid out of there. That liquid has to cook off first before we can start really caramelizing the sugars and the butter and all of that so that we get that nice brownness. And like I said, it's a great dish. Yeah, see, there's liquid in here, so this will have to cook for a while. It's a great side dish, especially in the summer when all that sweet corn is at the farmers markets. Awesome. I mean, just yum, yum. And so this, if you were using fresh corn, 10 minutes. 10 minutes and you'd be done. Now, it'd take you a while to get all the kernels off the ears, right? So that's a lot more work. If you use canned corn or frozen corn and you'd been smart, which I was not, and defrosted it all the way and then like made sure you drained it or patted it dry, this would be 10 minutes. Because I was really lazy and I just let it sit out on the cabinet, I got up at 5:30 and I took it out, and so that's how long it's been sitting there. I should have really drained it because, you know, you get those ice crystals and then there's some water in there. But it'll cook off. It'll cook off because we're not boiling the corn. That would be gross. Okay, I'm gonna let you see what it looks like now. I'm gonna move you over here. Come with me. I'm singing Willy Wonka again. Yeah. Okay, let me make sure you don't fall off. Don't fall off. There we go. So can you see the corn? And you can see the peppers? And there's too much liquid. Can you see there's too much liquid? There's too much liquid, but it's all gonna cook off, and then we're gonna start to brown. And there you go. So because, I'd normally tell you 10 minutes, but because I was lazy and I didn't drain the corn all the way, that means that it's probably gonna take me 20. Have you ever added cream cheese to your corn? Yummy. No. I have had a corn casserole that has cream cheese in it, and that was good, but that is not skillet corn. It's kind of like, hey David, everybody has their own way of doing things, and that's fine. So when I think about skillet corn, there's no sauce, there's no juice, there's no cream. It's this sweet, I don't know, it's kind of like when you cook corn on the cob on the grill. It just releases a different flavor. And the skillet corn is the same way. There's a different flavor to it that just makes it so, so good. Oh, Joanne's on. Joanne posted on Facebook today a picture of a thing of pickled beets. And I looked at that and I went, ooh, we need to make pickled beets. I like beets, I do. Have you ever roasted beets? I like roasted beets. I have a friend that also told me I needed to green sauce, Mexican green sauce. And so I thought next Tuesday is Cinco de Mayo. It's also Taco Tuesday, but Cinco de Mayo and Taco Tuesday, all in the same month. So what I thought I'd do is I would make a tomatilla sauce. And so you'll get to, hopefully I can find tomatillas next week. But if you've never seen tomatillas, they look like little bitty green tomatoes. So we'll use tomatillas, and we're gonna roast some poblano peppers and onions and garlic. We'll roast all that and the tomatillas, and then we're gonna put it all in a blender, and it's going to be quite lovely, the tomatilla sauce. And you can put it on anything. And then I thought I would also, maybe tomorrow I think I'm gonna teach you how to make roasted garlic. I keep telling you that I buy it all the time at the grocery store, which is just me being lazy, because making roasted garlic is the easiest thing in the world. So there you go. Texas is, you like beets and salad. Good morning, Sharon. Eva Marie, were your ears burning? I was just talking about you because I made this yellow squash delight. And I said, it depends on how it looks, whether it's too dry or too wet. And I said, if my friend Eva Marie were watching, she would be very upset with me without exact measurements. But anyway, so we did our casserole, just gonna go over that again. While I'm doing that, tell me, in Texas, if you're in Texas or if you're in a state where today is the day we start reopening, at least 25% occupancy on a lot of things, tell me then, if you feel comfortable, are you going out? No judgment, I'm not judging anyone. Do you feel comfortable? Are you going out, or are you still staying in with things reopening? Let me know. I'm just curious. I'm just curious. We'll need hot sauce. I know. All right, so recap. We cut up, diced yellow squash. I did about 8 of them. Then I put it in a pot of water, brought it to a boil, let it boil for about 10 minutes until the squash was soft. Drained the squash. Then I put the squash in a big bowl and used my potato masher and mashed it up. Not the blender or the food prep, just mash it up. It doesn't have to be a smooth puree. You still have little chunks, but for the most part, it's smushed up. We added, from Illinois, and I would be afraid, not gonna eat out. In Texas, not going out, yeah. Not like the round beets that taste like dirt. I like the beets that grow skinny and up out of the ground. I don't know the difference. Huh, that's weird. I'm not ready to go out. Out a little, but I think the restaurants are gonna be a hot mess. So waiting, I agree. North Carolina is still shut down. Okay, so then we added 3 eggs. We added salt, pepper, and garlic. We added half a cup of evaporated milk. We used 1.5 cups of breadcrumbs. We sauteed 3 pieces of bacon, crumbled that up. And then in that bacon yumminess, we sauteed 1 onion and 1 stalk of celery. All of that went into here. We mixed it all together, bacon and everything. And at the last minute, we added 8 ounces of shredded cheese, whether that be cheddar or a blend of some sort. We mixed it all together. We put it in, this is a 9 by 11, but you can put it in 9 by 13. And you're gonna bake this on 350 degrees for 40 minutes. 40 minutes. You don't need to cover it. The top is gonna be a lovely brown, not like dark brown, but you know, a nice pretty brown. Gonna wait and see how everything goes. Yeah, Florida opens on Monday. Definitely going out, not restaurants yet for me. Yeah, me either. Can you just imagine? Welcome to Cindy's Kitchen. Our specials for today are, yeah, no. Okay, and how do you eat? Is there a hole in the, no. Here, I'm gonna take a bite. No. So anyway, so that was our squash, and then we made our skillet corn. I'm taking you this way again. Let's go check on that skillet corn. I should stir anyway. Let me stir. I gotta hold on to you. Yee, yee. And the skillet corn, if you used actual corn on the cob, Michigan is closed. Hey, Peggy, Michigan is closed until May 15th. Okay? Illinois and I go out as much as I need to. Not afraid or worried. I go to physical therapy 5 days a week. Okay, Susan. Jessica, who needs restaurants when we have Cindy's Kitchen? Oh, I like that. Okay. So if you had actual ears of corn and you cut the kernels off, we'd have been done by now. Done, I tell you. If you would have been smart and you used canned corn or frozen corn and you drained it well and maybe blotted it with a paper towel so you didn't have any liquid there, then you'd be done too. But because Cindy was a moron and she took the frozen corn out of the freezer and just let it set, and then there was water in there, that's why it's taking so long. Oh, but it's starting to brown. Okay, so now I'm going to show you what it looks like. Hold on. So we just used, all we did is 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of oil. I did 2 large packages of frozen corn, but of course you can use